All right, this video is about the leaf that is very well designed to do all the different functions that it needs to do for the plant. So let's read about that. Having moved into the roots from the soil, up through the vascular bundle, the water arrives at the leaves where photosynthesis occurs in the presence of sunlight. Water from the vascular bundle will be drawn up and into drier leaf cells using osmosis, just as it did in the root cells. The heat from the sun will also make water in the leaf into water vapor, which will fill the air spaces of the leaf. The organization of cells in the leaf allows it to function perfectly to, first of all, make glucose through photosynthesis, help draw up more water from the roots, and allow for the gas exchange necessary for photosynthesis to happen. Remember, we need carbon dioxide to flow in from the atmosphere, and we need water to come up from the roots. Those are the two reactants of photosynthesis. And then oxygen that's produced in the leaf needs to flow out. Okay? Glucose stays in the cells and actually is taken down to the rest of the plant. So let's take a look at the leaf. Let's start at the top. I'm going to use some different colors here and see if we can't highlight a few different really important characteristics. So the epidermal cells, we're going to put those in pink, are at the top of the leaf. Okay, these are these cells here. Look how each one has a nucleus, probably, is what this is. Epidermal cells actually they don't really have a lot of chloroplast, but they are coated on top with a waxy cuticle. Okay, let's make that yellow. This is your waxy cuticle. Okay, it is hydrophobic, so it's going to keep in the moisture. Okay, we don't want these cells to dry out. Okay, remember the cell wall is not really protective, it's just a basket. And then we have the membrane, and water can absolutely move across the membrane if it's too dry out. So waxy cuticle is yellow. The palisade mesophyll cells, we're going to make those dark green because they have the most chloroplasts. Okay, they are right underneath. They are packed tightly together just below the epidermis. So these are the palisade mesophyll cells. They are some of the closest ones to the sunlight, and they have all these chloroplasts, which means they can photosynthesize like no one's business. Okay, I'm going to stop coloring those. Below that layer of cells, below the palisade mesophyll cells, are the spongy mesophyll cells, which are bulky and awkward. Think of these guys like the trolls in Frozen. Okay, I think they might have been my favorite characters. Okay, they are bulky and awkward, and because they are bulky and awkward, they are incredibly effective in creating air spaces. Right? If they don't stack neatly like the palisade mesophyll cells, you've got a lot of air spaces that are going to form between them. Okay, does that make sense? This is important. Why? Because this means that gases like carbon dioxide, water vapor, and oxygen can easily diffuse or move in and out of the leaves through the stomata, the openings on the underside of the leaf. Okay, now the stomata, let's see, what color do we want to make those? Let's make that purple. Okay, the stomata are actually the openings between what we call guard cells. Okay, these two cells right here, those are guard cells. And the opening is the stomata between them. Okay, if you draw this out, an open stomata basically has two guard cells that are inflated. That means that their vacuole is full of water, right? And that causes there to be a space between them. If they're not inflated, right, if their vacuole is kind of dried out, then they close on each other. Okay, and when these two inflate, like so, this creates that space, and any gases that were trapped in this airspace in the leaf are able to move out of the cell, out of the leaf, or come in. So this is going to depend on the concentrations on either side of the leaf epidermis on the bottom here. Okay, CO2 is going to get lower and lower inside the cell, inside the leaf, because the CO2 is being taken up by the palisade mesophyll cells in photosynthesis, right? As they basically consume, as they take up the CO2, that concentration is going to get lower and lower. Once it gets lower than what it is outside in the air, that those CO2 molecules are going to go in. That's just how diffusion works, right? In the same way, if we're making a lot of oxygen through photosynthesis, this is going to flow out once this concentration is higher than the air's outside, okay? In similar manner, we're talking about how water is moving out of the leaf. Well, let's see, let's change this to, let's go with blue, okay? So the water came up through the vascular bundle. Hopefully you remember that. Okay, we've got the vascular bundle and the xylem right there. So the water kind of comes out here and it's going to get transferred along to the drier cells, and you're going to have water vapor molecules start to fill the air spaces because it is really hot in the leaf, or it's going to become very hot because it's right close to the sun and things are heating up. So once water vapor forms here, that also exits out of the leaf. Okay, this also follows the principle of diffusion. If there's more water vapor molecules on the inside of the leaf than there are outside, like on a hot, dry day, then the water vapor molecules will diffuse out. And that completes transpiration, right? Osmosis, capillary action, and diffusion. Okay. If I were you, this is a lot to digest, so I would make sure that you understand what's going on here. There's a lot of moving parts. So stomata, as I mentioned earlier, are gaping wide openings in the leaf that allow gases like water vapor, oxygen, and carbon dioxide to move in whatever direction equalizes the concentration, right? This is diffusion. Oxygen that has built up to high concentrations in the leaf will flow out. Water vapor that has filled the air spaces of the leaf, like a sauna, will also flow out into the atmosphere. As carbon dioxide in the leaf tissue is used up in photosynthesis, more will flow into the leaf from the atmosphere. Okay. Now, I'm going to go back to these questions at the end, but I want to finish this story here of how it leaps. And so the water molecules are released from the leaf as water vapor and they are released from the leaf as water vapor and move out into the atmosphere, completing the process of transpiration. As you may have gathered from the above description, transpiration is closely linked to photosynthesis in that both processes require the stomata to be open. When the stomata are open, the leaves can take up carbon dioxide to make glucose, and water vapor and oxygen are released also from the same opening. Okay, so it's really important that those stomata are open. If they are not, then photosynthesis can't happen and transpiration can't happen. Okay, so questions here are, what features of plant anatomy described above enable the leaf to produce glucose in an efficient manner? Well, if we remember back from our leaf diagram, we had those palisade mesophyll cells tightly packed together. They had lots of chloroplasts. So let's put that down. Palisade mesophyll cells have the most chloroplasts. And let's just define this, right? Where photosynthesis photosynthesis happens, and they are tightly packed together. Efficient light harvest. Something like that. Okay, what features of plant anatomy, as described above, enable the leaf to draw up more water from the roots? Okay, as the leaf loses water vapor, the leaf cells will dry out. This draws up more water from the roots because water moves toward dry areas. Right? So in general, they're basically creating a drier top of the plant, and if you have a ton of water at the base of the plant, then that's going to move upwards. Okay, so there's never really a situation where the leaves are going to be a lot more, that they're not going to be more dry than the roots. If they are, wait, hold on. Yeah, let's just leave it at that. As the leaf loses water vapor, the leaf cells will dry out. This draws up more water from the roots because water moves towards dry areas. Okay, keep it simple. What features of plant anatomy described above enable the leaf to make sure that the gases needed for photosynthesis are available in the leaf tissue? Okay, gases needed for photosynthesis. We need water, maybe water vapor, and CO2, right? CO2 flows in through the stomata, and water comes up from the roots through the vascular bundle. Okay. So I think that answers them. Hopefully that makes sense. There's a lot of moving parts, but remember osmosis, capillary action, and diffusion. This is how water moves through plants, and especially note that transpiration and photosynthesis cannot happen alone, right? And most of that is because, not most of it, it's because these stomata have to be open for transpiration to happen, right? If they're not open, then water vapor cannot escape. And if they're not open, carbon dioxide cannot go in. Okay, if we don't have carbon dioxide going in, we can't do photosynthesis, and we don't have water vapor escaping, we can't have transpiration. Okay, all right, that's enough.